I got pregnant with the boss's baby. Guess I'll be taking the boss's wife's spot now.
In that moment, something inside me broke. She had been ridiculing me, the boss's wife, boasting about her youth, and constantly trying to outdo me. Now, she's even taken my job as the company's executive assistant and is attempting to take my husband as well. In that case, I won't hold back anymore. I'll see them plummet to the depths of hell. I decided to pretend to celebrate my husband and Michelle's union. I agreed the divorce with Jack. Of course, I received a generous settlement. They later had a lavish wedding in Hawaii. The situation shifted a week later. I got a call from Michelle.
Hey, Jack hasn't come home. You're his ex, so you must know where he is, right?
Michelle's voice was frantic. As I had predicted, I smirked. Oh, I didn't mention it, but he is.
What?
I revealed my husband's shocking secret side. My name is Karen Adams. I'm a 58-year-old working housewife. At my husband Jack's company, I work as an executive assistant. At 6 a.m., I get up earlier than my husband and make breakfast. Then I go to the office by myself to clean and tidy up the executive office. It's a daily habit. I do it so Jack can enjoy his work. At 8 a.m., Jack comes to the executive office.
Oh, thanks, Karen. You cleaned again today.
I walk up to Jack and retie his tie. It's fine, dear. You want to work in a clean room, don't you?
Yeah, you're right.
Jack and I had an arranged marriage. We haven't had children, but we've lived together, compromising and cooperating. This year marks our 30th wedding anniversary. The company Jack took over from his Phil is stable, and I've had no complaints about our life. By the way, about that new venture you proposed, the chairman agreed to fund it. The payment was confirmed just now.
That's great. Kevin seems to like you. You negotiating helped a lot.
The company is led by Jack as the president and his older brother as the chairman. His brother's name is Kevin. Jack affectionately calls him Kevy. Speaking of which, didn't the chairman fund another project you proposed before? Aren't you going to proceed with that? When I lightly asked, Jack seemed a bit irritated.
That's okay. I'll handle it.
I see.
You have the whole day free today, right?
Yes, because you mentioned it earlier. Jack smiled with satisfaction.
Great, then. I have someone I want you to meet. I'll bring them here, so wait for me.
Okay. The person he wants to introduce. I felt a sense of unease at the sound of those words. Soon, I could hear laughter coming from the hallway. It was Jack's voice and another, belonging to a young woman. As I was wondering about their seemingly close relationship, the door to the executive office opened.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Karen.
Jack said with a pleased expression. However, I was too stunned to respond to Jack, fixated on the woman standing next to him. She is a very young woman. Her hair was a shade of blonde, almost golden, wearing a miniskirt that revealed her thighs and a camisole with a plunging neckline, as if she was dressed for a night out. Yet, she wore it so well that I found myself marveling. So this is youth.
This is Michelle Smith. She's going to start working here today.
Pleased to meet you.
I was dumbfounded. Is he kidding me? My husband introduced me to the younger woman. Just this event alone is bad for my heart, and to add, we're not even hiring new graduates. Excuse me, I hesitate to ask you, but how old are you, Michelle?
She is 23 years old. I met her at a bar with some friends, and she came up to talk. We hit it off, and her youthful energy was refreshing. Don't you think her presence will boost our team's motivation, do you?
No, yes. He might be serious. Faced with Jack's glowing expression, I was at a loss for words.
So, Karen, could you teach Michelle the ropes?
Wait, she's going to work as a general employee, right? Then, perhaps someone else.
Oh, I forgot to mention, we're moving to a 2-person secretary team. So, I'd like you to teach her about being a secretary.
A 2-person team? Is that necessary?
Come on, you're getting on in years. It might be good for you to pass some work on to the younger generation.
Jack's light-hearted laughter stabbed at my heart. Getting on in years, that way of putting it.
All right then, I'll leave it to you. I've got some errands to run outside. Take good care of her, will you?
With that, Jack left the executive office, leaving me and Michelle behind. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Once Jack makes up his mind, he charges ahead. Then, inevitably, he fails and ends up regretting it alone. This had happened often in our marriage. It was pointless to say anything now. For now, I'll just do as he says. It's bound to fail anyway.
Hey, Mrs. Karen.
Michelle tapped my shoulder. Yes.
How old are you, Mrs. Karen?
Feeling it would be wrong not to answer after asking her age, I told her the truth. I'll be 58 this year. However, my honest admission seemed not to reach Michelle.
What? You're the same age as my grandma. You might drop dead any moment. And yet you're still working. That's kinda sad.
I forced a smile. I like my job. It's not sad at all.
Oh, I see. It's the boss who's to be pitied, right? Whether he's at home or at work, he's stuck with the old lady all the time. Really, poor thing.
Her words kept coming one after another, making my face tense up. Excuse me, what exactly are you trying to say?
What? Don't you get it? I guess it's true what they say about getting slower with age.
Michelle sighed heavily and stated bluntly.
It means I, being young and beautiful, have a higher status than an old lady like you. You get that, right, Mrs. Old Lady?
Her smiling face as she said this sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't stay silent any longer. You really need to learn some common sense.
Oh, did I make you mad? Or are you going through menopause or something?
What did you say?
See, you get angry so quickly. If you get this upset over such things, how can you keep working? Plus, menopause makes you sweat a lot and get out of breath, right? LOL, it's pathetic to try so hard. Maybe it's time you retired.
As I stood there dumbfounded, Michelle suddenly laughed and whispered in my ear.
Maybe it's time to retire as the president's wife, too.
I shuddered. This person intended to take Jack away from me. I raised my voice without thinking. That's enough. I can teach someone with your motives any work. Leave the company now. I expected an argument, but Michelle just stared at me, and tears streaming down her face.
I'm sorry.
What?
I didn't mean it. I just wanted to get along with you, and joked, but this is too much, too cruel.
Michelle collapsed to the floor, sobbing. She looked like a tragic heroine.
I'll leave this company. Thank you for everything up to now.
Michelle rushed out of the room. What on earth is happening? I was so shocked by the sudden turn of events that I was left speechless for a while until Michelle returned, red-faced, with Jack.
What the hell are you doing?
Jack's sudden shout made me tremble. What's going on, dear?
I heard from Michelle. You yelled at her.
But she was saying such terrible things.
Don't lie. I've been listening to her conversation.
What? To my astonishment, Michelle had recorded our argument on her smartphone. The recording began with me scolding Michelle, giving the impression that I had suddenly started berating her for no reason, making her cry. So that's why she apologized so readily, even with sobs. I bit my lip in frustration. Don't you believe me?
Believe. Michelle came to me crying about what you did. There's even a recording. It's clear whose words have more credibility. A secretary who bullies employees is fired as of today.
What? I was in disbelief. I had supported Jack at home and in the company all this time. And now, he was choosing Michelle, who had just joined, over me. Wait, then who will do the secretary's job?
It's obviously going to be Michelle.
That's impossible. And what about Macau, you know? I caught myself, realizing what I had just said. I tried to phrase it in a way that only Jack and I would understand. You know, about your hobby.
I can handle that myself. I prefer the pure and cute Michelle over you, who lies to me, the president. Besides, isn't a young and beautiful girl like her more suitable for me than you, who are older?
Jack squinted his eyes happily and looked at Michelle next to him. Michelle looked up at Jack with adoring eyes and flashed a brilliant smile. Then, when she turned her gaze to me, she stuck out her tongue slightly, taunting me. I protested repeatedly to Jack, but he refused to listen. The job of a secretary is not easy. Despite my arguments that it would be too difficult for Michelle, he only returned with overly optimistic responses, saying I was exaggerating or that we wouldn't know until we try. He must fancy himself a knight protecting his princess. I was speechless at his irrational excitement, not befitting someone who runs a company. Eventually, Jack threw away my personal items from my workspace. In their place, he arranged a brand new desk and cute, youthful stationery for Michelle. It's all in vain. Realizing this, I thought, I don't want to waste any more effort, and left the company. However, Jack did not return home that night, and he didn't respond to my messages either. I thought it was out of spite towards me, but as a week, a month, 3 months passed, I began to feel anxious. Then, one day, I was summoned to the company by Jack and headed to the president's office. Maybe he finally realized how difficult the secretary's job is. Is he thinking of firing Michelle and calling me back? With a glimmer of hope, I knocked on the president's office door.
Come in.
As I opened the door, I was greeted by an unbelievable sight. Jack, smiling happily, was holding hands with Michelle. They both looked at me and laughed gleefully.
It's been a while, Karen. We have some big news today.
What is it?
Actually,
Then, Michelle put her hand over Jack's mouth.
Let me say it, okay? I want to thank your wife too.
Right.
Jack nodded deeply, and Michelle said to me with a beaming smile.
We're getting married. Karen, you cared for my husband for a long time till now.
What? As I stood there, stunned, Jack chuckled awkwardly.
Yeah, I thought there's no point in hiding it. I'm thinking of starting a second life. You're old now. It's better for you to live quietly alone.
What is that supposed to mean? How dare you? I felt as if all the blood had drained from my body.
Wait, Karen, the story isn't over yet. Here is a gift for you. I even made a copy at a library just for you.
Michelle handed me several sheets of paper. They were black and white printed photos. Seeing them, I almost felt sick. This ultrasound picture, does it mean? Michelle nodded slowly and gently stroked her belly. As she came closer, she whispered in my ear.
I got pregnant with the president's baby. The spot as the president's wife is mine now.
At that moment, something inside me snapped. She had been ridiculing me, boasting about her youth, and constantly trying to one-up me. Now, she's taken my job as the company's executive assistant and is attempting to take my husband as well. Well, no more holding back. I'll see them plummet to the depths of hell. I decided to pretend to bless Jack and Michelle's union. I agreed the divorce with Jack. Of course, I received a hefty settlement. After that, they had a grand wedding in Hawaii. The situation changed a week later. I received a call from Michelle.
Hey, Jack hasn't come home. You're his ex-wife. You must know where he is, right?
Michelle's panicked voice. As expected, I smirked. Oh, I didn't say, but he has.
What?
I exposed my husband's terrible secret. He has a favorite hobby. He's probably in Macau right now.
Macau?
Haven't you heard? There's a big hotel in Macau with a casino. Jack always goes there whenever he has free time. Michelle gasped.
So that means...
Yes, Jack is probably indulging in gambling right now. I managed his schedule so he wouldn't get too caught up in it. I guess the new secretary didn't know. He didn't want to show his bad side of wasting earned money on gambling. Michelle was so shocked she couldn't say anything. I chuckled. I'm actually thankful to you.
What?
Jack got into gambling in the last few years, introduced by some new business associates.
What does that have to do with anything?
Before you came along, I still had some feelings for Jack. I was worried about him falling further, but now I've completely let go. Taking in such a worthless man, and even giving me a generous settlement, there couldn't have been a better opportunity. Thanks to you, I can enjoy my second life. I laughed heartily. From the phone came heavy breathing.
Don't mess with me, you old hag. Getting all high and mighty.
Well then, goodbye. You're going to have a hard time, Mrs. President. I said sarcastically, ignoring Michelle's ranting on the other end, and hung up. A few days later, I was relaxing in my new apartment when the doorbell rang. Is it a delivery? I don't remember ordering anything. Suspicious, I peered through the peephole. There stood my ex-husband, Jack, his face flushed with anger.
You're there, aren't you, Karen? How dare you say that to Michelle?
Pa, about the gambling. Understanding the situation, I decided to open the door and let Jack in. He must have gone to a detective agency to find my address. Running away now would only lead to him pursuing me again. Might as well settle this here. I had important information to tell him. I prepared a folder with documents before opening the door. It's been a while, hasn't it? I greeted him with a graceful smile.
How dare you smile after ruining someone's home?
Jack was furious, yelling and leaning in close to intimidate me. But such tactics have no effect on a wife who has stood by him for years. Oh dear, why are you so red in the face? What happened?
It's none of your business.
I couldn't help but laugh. He had come here just to vent his anger. But I could see right through them. It must have been a marital spat, right?
Shut up.
Michelle must not be thrilled about you spending most of your income on gambling. She managed your salary, and you were put on an allowance system, weren't you? Jack froze in shock.
How? How did you know that? Did you bug me or something?
His serious questioning made me burst into laughter. Because we had the same conversation before, when your gambling was discovered, and you said, "What's wrong with spending my own money on my hobbies?" I bet you said the same thing to Michelle, and after fighting with her, you're taking it out on me, aren't you? Jack bit his lip and clenched his fists, falling silent. Don't underestimate the wife of 30 years. I thought to myself as I looked at the frustrated Jack. I want you to appreciate that I was your secretary. I expertly managed your schedule to minimize your gambling time, to prevent your downfall. I wonder if a naive 23-year-old like Michelle can do that.
Well, that is.
Well, you'll have to make do, won't you? Especially now that you're having a baby. Baby. The moment I mentioned the word, Jack's face lit up. What a predictable man.
Yes, that's right. Michelle and I are having a child. Unlike you, who's infertile, she can bear me a successor. You've lost as a woman.
Jack looked down on me triumphantly. Well, that's good for you.
We're happy. Stop trying to ruin my family. I came here today to warn you.
Jack pointed at me sharply. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Me, ruin your family? I have no such intention. In fact, I'm here to help you.
Help me.
Confused, Jack gaped at me. Did you go to the obstetrician with Michelle?
What? That's a place for women. Michelle said she wanted to go alone, so I didn't accompany her.
You've seen the ultrasound photo, right? The glossy, thick paper, photo paper.
No, what I saw was on regular thin paper.
I thought so. I presented Jack with several photos from the clear folder. Grainy, black and white photos. They were ultrasound images of a baby. Jack's eyes widened.
Is this supposed to be your pregnancy?
Of course not. This is what Michelle gifted to me. She's quite prepared, isn't she, printing these off the internet for me.
The internet?
To a puzzled Jack, I handed over a piece of paper. It was a printout of a certain SNS article. It was written 2 years ago. It was a pregnancy announcement, complete with ultrasound photos. Compare these photos. Notice anything? After looking back and forth between the photos and the article, Jack's face turned pale.
Wait, it means...
That's right. I overlaid Michelle's ultrasound photo with the article's photo, holding them up to the light. From the noise to the baby's silhouette, they matched perfectly. Ever heard of image search? It's a feature that searches the web for images similar to the one you have. That's how I found this SNS. She must have copied the entire article and cut out the photos neatly.
So, the baby...
Jack's face went completely white, looking as though he was about to collapse. I decided to give him the final blow with one more statement. It's all the lie. There's no one in her belly. Jack collapsed to his knees.
No way. She wouldn't lie about something like that. It's impossible. After everything I bought for her, designer clothes, bags, even an expensive engagement ring.
Jack vented his middled emotions by repeatedly pounding the floor with his fist. His pathetic state almost made me smile. It's unfortunate you can't become a father. If you think about it, considering your age, it's dubious whether you're even capable of fathering a child. Believing that just because she's young, she would get pregnant was a naive thought.
Oh, my.
Find out the truth from Michelle directly. I'll call her over for you now. Jack probably didn't even have the energy to argue. He remained silent and slumped. I called Michelle to the apartment. Soon, the doorbell rang, and I opened the door. Upon seeing Jack and me together, Michelle screamed.
What are you doing here? Trying to steal Jack back from me?
That's not it. Haven't I said I'm grateful to you?
I have a baby in my belly. You can't break us apart.
Michelle yelled triumphantly, not listening to me. She stepped into the room with her shoes on and gently embraced Jack's shoulder.
Are you okay? Let's go back and talk about money again. I'll manage the salary, okay? We'll overcome this trial together because in my belly is...
Shut up.
Jack slowly stood up. He stared at Michelle and spoke quietly.
The pregnancy is the lie, isn't it?
Michelle's face contorted visibly.
What? What are you talking about?
Tell me the truth, Michelle.
I am pregnant. I showed you the ultrasound photo. Our baby is the fruit of our love. Denying that is cruel.
Michelle sat down on the floor, sobbing. However, she quickly looked up and glared at me.
Karen must have poisoned your mind. Jealous because you're old and I'm young and beautiful.
Michelle huffed in arrogance. I just laughed in return. Is that all you have to say?
What? Hey, Jack, let's just go home. Come on.
Michelle pulled at Jack's arm. Jack shook her off.
That's enough, Michelle.
What?
Jack presented the blog article copy and the ultrasound photo to Michelle.
There's no escaping the truth now. I believed in you. Why did you lie about something like this? When you said you were pregnant, I was overjoyed to tears.
Then, Michelle's expression faded.
Hey, Jack.
What now?
Michelle looked up at Jack with teary eyes, trying to appeal to him.
I just wanted to test your love for me. I was afraid of being just a fling. That's why I said I was pregnant. Then you said you wanted me to have a baby, right? I was so happy.
Seeing Michelle's beaming smile, Jack seemed somewhat appeased.
So, it was because you loved me that you lied.
That's right. We can still have a baby, can't we? Our child would inherit my beauty and your brains. One day, they'll become the president and earn lots of money.
That's impossible. I interrupted Jack and Michelle's delusional world, bringing them back to reality.
Hey, we were just getting to the good part.
Do you really think this man has money? I asked calmly.
Of course, he's the president, after all.
I see, indeed, our company has been around for generations and isn't doing poorly. But that's about the company as a whole. This man is a gambler. You understand what that means, right?
What?
Michelle's face turned pale as she clung to Jack.
Hey, Jack, you're rich, right? You told me so, that you have more money than you know what to do with, and that we live a wealthy life once we're married.
Jack responded in a faltering voice when pressed.
It's fine. I may have lost some money at the casino recently, but we're starting a new venture at the company soon. That'll be a big win.
What are you talking about? I pointed out Jack's ugly lie. I know, you have no intention of starting any new venture.
What do you mean?
You got financial support from the chairman recently, right? Where is that money now? Surely it hasn't been spent on designer brands and an engagement ring for your new wife. I glared at Jack.
What are you talking about? I would never do that.
Jack laughed dismissively, but his voice trembled. I sighed briefly. You embezzled company funds, didn't you? Jack swallowed hard as I stared him down. I've been suspicious. Since the beginning of the year, you've been saying we're starting a new venture and got financial support from the chairman. But there's been no progress on any venture. You haven't even tried to make progress. And then, on to the next new venture. It's strange not to be suspicious. So, I talked to the chairman and decided to get solid evidence.
You two teamed up against me. Then, the deposit from Kevy the other day was
A decoy. You transferred the venture funds directly into your account. You've been making it hard to trace by using various accounts, but this time you put it directly into your own. What? Were you that desperate for money, trying to prove to Michelle you were wealthy? As I laid out the facts, Jack could only mumble. I delivered the final blow. You're finished. Get arrested and live the rest of your life as a convict.
Shut up. This was all done within the family. It'll probably just end with probation. Besides, Kevin will pay the bail. Even if I'm charged, I'll be out soon.
Jack tried to reassure himself.
Why do you even know about this? You were fired by me. It's none of your business.
The chairman told me.
Kevy did.
Yes, I was hired by him.
What?
Jack's mouth fell open in shock. I explained calmly. He contacted me right after he heard you'd left me. He apologized for your terrible actions and asked if he could hire me back. I said yes immediately. You didn't know.
He kept that from me. That's outrageous.
I'm grateful to him. He's put me in charge of schedule management, and my salary is even better than before. As I smiled broadly, Jack gritted his teeth.
Damn Kevin. I'll confront him right now.
Just as Jack was about to leave,
Hey,
Michelle grabbed Jack's arm. She pulled him towards her, their faces inches apart. Her expression was demonic.
hey, old man.
What?
Startled by Michelle's unusually deep voice, Jack froze. Michelle took a deep breath and yelled,
You deceived me, flaunting your wealth, and then turns out you're just an old criminal. What a joke.
I'm sorry, Michelle.
Jack, clearly terrified, tried to gently hold Michelle's hand. He looked into her eyes and slowly said,
But it's okay. I'll probably get probation and be able to return home. I may be ousted from the company, but we can be happy without money, right?
Don't joke with me.
Michelle shook off Jack's hand and looked at him as if he was filth.
A broke old man like you living with a young and beautiful woman like me. Impossible. I lied about being pregnant to get married. What a waste of time. Nowadays a stain on my family register. The worst.
Michelle pushed past Jack and left the room.
Michelle. Wait, Michelle.
Shut up.
Bang! Michelle slammed the door behind her. Jack, abandoned by his new wife, stood at the entrance like a ghost. I spoke to Jack. Please leave. This is my house.
Hey, Karen.
What?
Can we start over? Me as the president and you as the secretary. Just like before.
Jack showed a pleading smile, but I shook my head firmly. That's impossible. I really hate you. I never want to see your face again. Jack's eyes widened, and he began to tremble. That's enough of that. I opened the door and pushed Jack out. As I locked the door and began watching TV, Jack, having realized everything was over, quietly left the apartment. Later, Jack was arrested. He had hoped Kevin would pay his bail, but that expectation was dashed as he was taken to a cold jail cell alone. Jack was arrested for embezzling the funds provided by Kevin for supposed new ventures. However, he also raised funds by telling clients and affiliated companies that he was starting new ventures, then transferred this money into his personal account for private use. Jack was sentenced to actual prison time without probation, and it seemed he wouldn't be out for several years. As for Michelle, she was suspected of conspiring with Jack and was investigated. Although no evidence of conspiracy was found, the police discovered she had been scamming money from various company executives. She would approach men who appeared wealthy in bars, become friendly, then claim to be their girlfriend. She would then lie about being pregnant or needing money for a parent's surgery, coaxing large sums of money from them. In essence, Jack was just one of Michelle's many victims. Michelle was arrested for fraud. Thus, both of them ended up in the care of the police. Half a year has passed since Jack's arrest. I am still working with the chairman. Recovering the company's image after the scandal is not easy, and he is always troubled. I want to support the chairman by his side. Feeling indebted to him, I am determined to help. One evening, I returned to the company with the chairman. He sank deeply into his chair and let out a sigh.
It's been a tiring day.
We had several business dinners and a row. The chairman smiled at me.
Yes, but thanks to you choosing a good restaurant, the meal was enjoyable. Many of our business partners are around my age, so they appreciated the healthy yet luxurious restaurant. Moreover, no one knew about the restaurant today. It was like a surprise. Thanks to that, the conversation flowed. Thank you.
The chairman's face lit up with a gentle smile. His demeanor is always calm and composed, a stark contrast to Jack's impulsiveness. He speaks with respect to everyone, his earnest character shining through in every interaction. I find myself drawn to the human qualities he exhibits. Such generous words. As I bowed my head, the chairman sighed with satisfaction.
To think my foolish brother once had someone as capable as you as a partner. Truly astonishing.
I let out a light chuckle. Former partner, I have no ties with him anymore.
Ha, indeed. By the way, Karen, how long do you plan to work? Don't you ever think about retiring and living a quiet life at home?
I answered with a smile. I love my work. As long as I'm able, I wish to continue working. The chairman nodded happily, several times.
I want you to help me rebuild this company. It's going to be a long partnership, but I'm counting on you from here on out.
I nodded vigorously. Yes, Chairman. When I responded enthusiastically, the chairman, finding it amusing, laughed cheerfully. Watching him, I felt a warmth in my heart. My second life is going to be fulfilling. As I gazed at his smiling face, I was filled with this hopeful thought.